Welcome, Joe, to another week. How are you?
I am great. I am so glad that how such gratitude that we've got the Charles and Joe show together.
Likewise, it's a lot of fun, and I hope viewers you see how much fun we have talking to each other every week.
Yes, yes, that in itself is pure joy.
Exactly, Joe. And
Yeah.
what are we discussing this week?
This week we're going to talk about CERN, which is CERN, and it's
Mhm.
it's in Switzerland and it got turned off, I think last week. So I was like, oh, this is exciting to talk about.
It's been turned off for 4 years, guys, and so CERN is a research center. It's like there's the Large Hadron Collider. Okay, so it's a 27-kilometer tunnel under the ground, about 50 to 100 meters under the ground. And they accelerate particles like your atoms, like your protons, your electrons, your neutrons, and they try and split them just to sort of research and understand what are they made up of? What happens if I collide them? What happens if I smash them all together? And it's a scientific research center, and it's a lot of conjecture. If you've seen it on socials, you'll be understanding there's a lot of chit chat about it, Joe, isn't there?
Oh, heaps of chit chat. All the spiritual people that are on podcasts, if you Googled it, you'll get 10 people showing up talking about it. Mm.
Easily, easily. And people are sort of saying with CERN, they've shut it down, and a lot of people are unsure why. They've put it down to, like, I think, maintenance after a while. It needed some maintenance. But people are really worried that they're playing with things that we as humans are not being told about, like timeline jumping and things like that. So there's a bit of concern now that they've shut us down in 2026 and they're going to reopen us again, I think, in 2030,
Yes.
which is a very interesting time because there's also a program, I think it's year 2030 is a program where a lot of things want to be controlled and there's a lot of programs going on. So lots is happening.
Yes. I have a few different thoughts on it. I
Mhm.
know the day, and I want to say it was the last week of June, I did wake up and thought, oh, I feel my energy is not being controlled anymore. And then I did a little Google, like a little search on my people that I follow. And then Elizabeth Prue was like, oh my gosh, the CERN's turned off. And I was like, ah. So my take on it is just from my intuition is that if you're going to do anything big, now's the next 4 years because your energy is not going to be manipulated in any way. So I just think if there's anything big that you want to do, now's the time. It's also, it didn't really, it's not really going to affect, or wouldn't be really affecting people who are high vibes because we're higher than that vibe, if that makes sense. I do think on some level, it was trying to control the energy of the world, if that makes sense. And I think that they've turned it off for maintenance. But I actually think it was that the Schumann's resonance, like the sun solar flares, had probably broke it or is affecting it because those have been higher than any other time before in
I
history.
agree. I agree with what you said, Joe, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you said about the next 4 years get shit done. And that's
Yeah.
also tidying up your spiritual stuff, dealing with your traumas, dealing with your griefs, coming to terms with all of that stuff. You've got 4 years to work it out. Because come 2030, when they switch it back on, life might change a little bit. And as Joe said, if you've done your work, you're not going to be able to be controlled. Whereas if you haven't done the work, your energy is still lower, there might be an element that they can control you. Okay. So that's what you've got to look at and work towards. Now, I think you're on the money, I think, too, because the Schumann resonance, which is the vibration of the planet, the frequency that it's vibrating at, it's on a continual rise. Now, I watch it occasionally on the internet, and we hit 100, and it's not often we hit 100 that the vibration is continually rising. And what this means, guys, is a lot of people are awakening. And when I say awakening, they're actually seeing what could be real in the world now, and they're not just believing everything. So, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, people just believed what was told on the news as the gospel. It was the truth. Now people are looking at it and thinking, that's very interesting. I don't know if that resonates with me anymore. What do I actually feel about that? What that means is there's been a shift in consciousness, and the consciousness is rising. Okay.
Yes.
With the CERN and the Large Hadron Collider, they're looking at consciousness, they're looking at God particles, they're looking at all of these things in the scientific way. and they're trying to recreate that sort of stuff and make it happen. So this is why within the next 4 years that it's closed, do your stuff. Try and make your version of you the best version that you can be, so that when it gets switched back on again, because it will, things might be different.
Mm, mm. I also think that comes into play the AI aspect of it, and I think it's also we've got to be careful on that level as well um with the energy because there's so much misinformation.
That's so true, Joe. And see, AI is something that I do not use in any way, shape, nor form. People say to me, "Do you use ChatGPT?" No. Do you use anything? No. Um, I value drinking water. I
Yeah.
value electricity. And, they're shutting down power stations in our state. And people are using AI to draw silly caricatures of themselves and do their advertising. It's like, that's great for you. But when you've got no power because the data centers are taking all of your power, when you've got no water to drink because the data centers are needing the water to cool down, you got a problem. Okay.
Mm,
And I think, Joe, it all ties in. You're so on the money because CERN isn't, for me, this is my belief, so don't take it as gospel. Do your own research. CERN is trying to find a way to control us. The AI centers, what they're trying to do is they're spying on you 24/7 and they're storing it in these centers. You
mm,
go on Facebook, you're being tracked. You go on YouTube, you're being tracked. You go on Google, you're being tracked. You go shopping at Coles, Palantir is tracking you. Everything you buy, everything you spend your money on, how you pay. It's all being tracked. That's why these data centers are here to collect all of your information. Okay. That's why we're saying start clearing up your stuff in the next 4 years so that you can be vibing high and then work out. Do my socials work for me anymore? Or is it just draining me of energy? Because that's a lot of that intention too, is socials drain you of energy.
mm.
So
Absolutely.
much, Joe. It's all tied in. It's all about energy and it's all about control. And
Yes.
that's how I see, and that's what I see. Something, look, I don't, I've got my facts probably all skewed, but something happened in 2020, whether they turned it on and COVID came or they turned it off and COVID came, there's something that's been going on with that.
Yes, very much so. And I think it's also oh, when you're in your heart center, you're such a much more powerful person because you've got conviction and you've got strength and you believe in yourself. And I think that social media, the biggest thing it's done is it's take us into our head and we overthink things and we're comparing, oh my gosh, she's got a new car. And now I don't have friends like that do that on social media, but there are people that live in that very shallow, like, so they look flashy and whatever. But, you know, for the last, since I think that since 2007, I think Facebook or social medias have really exploded, if that makes sense. And CERN actually created the World Wide Web.
Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying that I think that you want to drop into your heart chakra and really go back to basics. Call people. Hey, how you going? Let's catch up for lunch. Sit in your heart chakra because that's your highest vibrational point, and that's where when you sit in love, anything can happen in your life. And if we all sit in that consciousness of love, the world's going to vibrate to such a better place.
agree 100%, Joe. And I think when you're in that consciousness, in your heart space, you're radiating and vibrating at such a high frequency that anything that they try and create with CERN, it can't be done. And how many times have they had problems with CERN and then, people, this is just viewpoints. This might not even be real, but people sometimes associate CERN with earthquakes,
Yes,
tsunamis, all of that stuff, cyclones, and all of that sort of stuff. So
volcanoes. Yeah.
it's a mechanism that they tell us, yeah, we're trying to do scientific research, and that's fine, But what are they not telling us? What else are they doing behind the scenes? And that's what you've got to start thinking about. You see the news and everything's good, everything's good. Like, let's look at COVID, okay? Everything was great, everything was great, everything was great. Get the jab, get the jab, get the jab. Now they're pulling the jabs. Moderna's pulled its jabs. Did you see that on the news? No. Pfizer's thinking about pulling its jab. AstraZeneca pulled its jabs. You're not seeing stuff until after the event. So what you've got to sit with now is sit in that heart space. Don't be swayed by your socials and think, what is real?
Hmm.
What is happening? Okay. You can actually see it now in mainstream media. I'm not a television watcher. I very rarely watch television, but there was a male presenter on one of the morning television shows,
Oh, yes.
hosting it for many, many years.
21
It
years.
did his own podcast, and all his podcast was and I've never watched it, but what I can ascertain is he just gives a different point of view, a different perspective, okay? So that we can have a more balanced approach on what's actually out there. And the network that hired him sacked him because
Mm,
they don't want him giving people approaches and different ways of thinking. They want the indoctrination to happen that this is good for you. You will do this. You must do this.
mm,
This is where the world's going. And this is why you've got to really drop into the heart space, disconnect, and understand that these things, CERN is a big part of all of this.
mm. So true. So true. And I think it's just like now, I want everyone just to question everything. Is that good for me? Am I just following being a sheeple, or is that actually what I want to do? Because I think that will determine how our world goes. If we can be more consciously heart-centered in love and think, is this what we want? As opposed to, oh, everyone else is doing it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, correct. And that's the key, I think, Joe. Think for yourself. Turn
Yeah.
off the news. Don't believe the news. Listen to the news and then ask yourself, do I think that's real? Do I struggle with that? How do I feel about that?
Mm. The other thing that's coming through really strongly for me is about us all becoming strong, like physically strong. And I think that's so our vessels can hold better energy, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because muscles hold, I know when I have been fit, I can vibrate much higher than when I've been flabby. So,
Yeah, 100%. 100%. When our bodies are strong, we can achieve anything.
yes.
When our bodies are not strong, we suffer.
And when I sometimes say to my higher self, what shall I do today for myself? And they go, do weight training. And I'm like, I don't want to do, I don't really like that. Like, and then like they're going, you got to be strong, Joe. You got to be strong, Joe, to hold energy. And I'm like, okay, like, and I go, I'm doing it, but I don't really like this. Like, it's not my joy. And they go, you will like it soon. Like, keep going, you
And
know?
you'll see the benefits for it. You will
Yes.
see the benefits
I'm
for it when
getting
you start to lift stuff up
little
and
muscles here.
yeah, see, and that's the thing. It's good for us.
Yes.
But this is where the world's going as well. A lot of the world's going back to basics as
Yes.
growing their own vegetables because we can't believe we don't know what's in the vegetables that they're growing. All of that type of stuff. It's a part of the controlling and the mechanisms. And one thing I saw the other day, and I thought, how true is that? You're getting a lot of vegetables now that don't have seeds. You're seeing all these seedless watermelons or seedless this or seedless that for your convenience. You don't have to worry about the seeds. The convenience is you can't grow it for yourself. You have to buy it from somewhere else.
Yes.
So go and buy something that's got seeds and store some of those seeds so then you can grow it for yourself.
Yes.
You're going to get real stuff. This discern and it's a whole the world is transforming, the world is changing.
Mm,
And I think the vibration of the planet, and Joe, you said it before too, with solar flares that have been really active the last few months, the consciousness of the planet, the Schumann resonance, and CERN is struggling to keep up. And I think that's why they've got to put more energy into it.
mm.
And I don't think that's a good thing. But I think if we can, in the next 4 years, keep rising our consciousness, it won't have any effect on us.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And even like with veggies and things, I just think do what you can to make a difference in the environment. So, no AI, I often say, let's not try and fill our bin up full of yellow rubbish, like our yellow bin full of packaging. Be conscious about what you're buying, and but it's also like, I can grow veggies really well in pots. I'm not very good at growing them in the garden, probably because they dry out too much, maybe. But I've become a very good veggie garden grower, and you don't need much. But it's also like, I said to Elliot because of this AI thing. I really think we should get some really much bigger water tanks so we can store our own water.
Smart move, very smart move, so that you've got your supply. So when it rains,
Yeah.
you've got water stored there for whatever it might be, watering the
Yes.
garden, whatever that you need it for. Because I think that's a really wise thing to do to have that ready.
Yeah. So I just think we've got to look that way. But it's also then we're not then putting pressure on the environment if we're a
Correct.
bit more self-sufficient.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to be as human beings, a lot less dependent on other people and more self-sufficient on ourselves and what we can create for ourselves and how that looks. Because then If other people try and control us, it's like you've got no control over me. I can do whatever I want. I've got my own vegetables or whatever it might
Yeah.
be.
Like even like you live in residential, but I've seen your backyard and your front yard. You could blitz it. You could have so much veggies in your back and front garden.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And we've tried that in the front garden because it gets a lot of sun. And we've grown tomatoes in the front, we've grown carrots in the front, all of that stuff. It's not hard to do. And that's what you've got to look at, guys. What can I do for myself to make my future better?
Yeah. So the words that are coming to me with my guides are heart-centered and wholesome. If you can live like that, it's going to make such a big difference because I think I want to start at Bellingen. It's on my list, but I haven't got there yet. But where we can meet on a Wednesday afternoon and we swap all our food. So I've got two else who has too many whatevers, you know,
Yep.
apples or whatever. So it's just like a swap meet, but
Yeah,
it's just of wholesome foods. So
I agree. And the word that dropped into my
yeah,
head when you were saying that, Joe, was opportunity. This is an
yeah,
opportunity for us to develop and come back to community and come back to what's important.
yeah.
So, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Joe
Yes,
gets
yes,
frozen for a moment
absolutely.
there.
So,
Like, share, and subscribe. Let
oh
us know
yeah,
in the comments what your thoughts are about CERN and what you think is actually happening in Switzerland and why it's been shut down. And, give us also your comments on and thoughts about AI and things like that. Okay. So, don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Now, if you share this, you go into the running to be a winner. So Joe's going to
yes.
offer somebody that shares our YouTube video in July a 1 hour read, but you've got to comment in the comment section shared. So share it to your friends or share it on your YouTube, whatever, and then comment shared, and you can win a 1 hour reading with Joe. Joe, have you got any classes coming up at the moment, darling?
Yes, so if you go to my joanneplater.com.au, I've got either my week retreat for my clairvoyant class, or I've got my one Sunday for nine Sundays over 7 months. So yeah, I've got that, and I've also got my Holy Fire Reiki class as well. So just head to my website to see all my courses. What about you, lovely Charles?
Same. I've got on my website and on my Facebook pages the classes that I'm doing. You Are Clairvoyant is running on August 11 for 7 Tuesday nights in a row. I've got Palawa on August 22 and 23. And yeah, that's what I've got going on. I might even be running a tarot class later on in the year.
Oh,
So it's all on the website. Get in touch with both of us through our websites and then off we go. Joe,
yes.
thanks for a lovely chat again, as usual.
Yes, I enjoyed it. So thank you.
And we look forward to seeing everybody next week for more on the Charles and Joe Show. Have a great week, everyone.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.